Welcome back everyone to another video on the Inside Saints YouTube channel. Today I'll be just sharing my thoughts about who I'm most excited to watch in 2023 at St Kilda. I've separated the players into 4 different categories. I have the main guys, the improvers, the returnees and the newbies. So let's just get straight into the main guys. So there are 5 main guys that I'm looking forward to watching in 2023. They're basically the stars of the team, and if you're new to the club and all the players, these are probably the players that almost all the supporters will know about and will want to watch in 2023. So we have Max King. He's currently injured right now and he will be out until the middle of the season, but he is always just so good to watch when he's on form and kicking goals as our primary key forward. And he brings a lot of X factor, and he's one of our young kids as well, so a lot of upside to him and very exciting prospect. Quite similarly, Marcus Windhager, after his debut year this year, has already elevated himself to one of the brightest young stars in the competition, and it's only up for him. And after a big pre-season, he'll be set to improve his game even more in 2023. And then we have 3 established stars in Jack Steele and Jack Sinclair, both past All-Australians. Jack Sinclair earning the honours this year for the first time. Them 2 are key cogs in the team, and looking forward to seeing a full season from Jack Steele after he had a month out with a shoulder injury. And Jack Sinclair, just looking forward to seeing his dynamic best continue in 2023. And then Rowan Marshall, he is due for a role change after the retirement of Paddy Ryder, and to see him blossom, potentially similar to the way he did in 2019 when he had the sole rock job, it's very exciting, and hopefully he can elevate himself to one of the best players in the league and maybe even All-Australian honours like Steele and Sinclair. Then we have the improvers. These are the guys I think who are set for the biggest improvement in 2023. We'll start with Cooper Sharman. He's a key forward like Max King, and with King out, he's looking like the most likely player to fill the void and take the focal point in attack. And he's shown in the past that he's very capable of playing at AFL level to a high standard. King has obviously missed games in the past, and Sharman has stepped in and been able to fill the void just as well as King plays it. So to see him get some continuity over the first couple of months of the season in that same role that he dominated in is very exciting for him. And then we have Bradley Hill. He isn't exactly one of our young prospects. He's probably, I think he's 30 in 2023, but he's due for a role change under the new coach Ross Lyon, and Ross was the one that utilised him best at Fremantle before he made the move to St Kilda. So for him to return to the wing is very exciting for him to hopefully return back to his ways of being the best winger in the competition. And this also opens up a spot at half back, and Nazaya Wanganeen-Millera could be the one to fill that void. We've seen his silky skills, his speed on the wing in 2022, and a move to halfback. He's played that position before, and to cement himself across that line would be quite beneficial for him to set up attacks from defence and show off his silky skills. And then there's Mitch Owens. We saw glimpses of him this year as well. Some injuries disrupted his season, but when he did come in, he was very exciting. He showed that he has a really ruthless attack on the ball, and he, with his big body, could be like Jack Steele in the future. And in his second year next year, it's going to be very exciting to see what he can do. And then we have the returnees. So these are all the guys who were significantly affected by injury in 2022. Hunter Clark has always been one of our brightest prospects, but just hasn't been able to get his body right due to some really cruel luck. And hopefully his fortunes will change in 2023. With all the new coaches coming in, they can really benefit him in the midfield, and we all want to see him succeed. And similarly, Nick Caulfield had an unlucky ACL injury last year or this year, and is still sidelined for a little bit longer, but he should be able to play the full season if he's fit. And in 2020 he had a blistering season, was almost, I think he was in the All-Australian squad, if not very close to it, with his intercept marking and rebound from defense. He was very good, so hopefully he can show that promise again and play a full season in 2023. And then we have Jack Hayes, who was a revelation in early 2022 before he also did an ACL. He was a mature age recruit in 2021 and made his debut early this year with the injuries to Marshall and personal reasons to Ryder. He made an early debut and he impressed very early on. He was the reason why we were able to turn the tide against the Pies in round 1. And with that sort of X factor as a big man, it's always exciting to look forward to seeing him back on the park next year. And another player with immense X factor is Jack Higgins. We saw this in the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, where he dominated just about every single game, and it was just his inaccuracy in front of goal that let him down. But apart from that, he was getting his hands on the ball, he was having an impact up the ground, and most importantly, he was scoring goals from basically everywhere. And he was also applying the pressure at ground level, so he was basically the whole package as a small forward, and probably would have been the leading contender for the small forward spot in the All-Australian team. But then obviously he got unlucky with a concussion, which basically derailed his season. Took him a couple of weeks to recover from it, and he also suffered a form slump in the subsequent weeks. And at one point he was even dropped, and he never really reached those heights again. So it was disappointing for him, but hopefully in 2023 he is a bit luckier, but keeps his head high and goes back to that form that he showed in the early parts of the season. And then there's Daniel McKenzie. Most fans know of his importance to the team. He's probably one of the top 3 most important players to the team because of his role. He plays on the wing, defensive winger. He gets back and supports the defense, but he's also improved his capacity to attack as well. He's one of the fittest guys in the team, so he can run up and back all day. He's improved his kicking. He knows how to lower his eyes, so he's quite reliable going inside 50. He's got insane overhead ability for his size, and he's really courageous, so they complement each other. But unfortunately sometimes he's too courageous for his own good, and he ended up concussing himself this season. And it was a concussion that, like Higgins, also derailed his season, because then he suffered a few other injuries which prevented him from coming back into the team, and the team's performance honestly suffered with his absence, and we didn't really find another player that could play the role to a T as well as he did. So it was unfortunate, and hopefully in 2023 he can play a full season and really assert himself in the best 23. Then we have the newbies. So we obviously brought in quite a few young kids through the draft this year, and then we also signed Zane Cordy from the Bulldogs in free agency. And our crop from the draft, it looks very, very promising. We got a few steals, and hopefully they proved that status right in 2023. On the left we have Ollie Houghton, who was our 3rd pick. He's a good midfield forward type of player. He plays on the wing. He's more of an impact player than an accumulating player. So he's a good kick, makes good decisions, and he's a solid size as well. So maybe he could move into the midfield. His form in the preseason has been good so far, so he could push for a debut around mid-season if he keeps the form up. And then we have James Van Ness. As you can see in the picture, he's a huge key defender, and he's ready made for the AFL. He's like 96 kilograms for 199 centimeters, which is impressive for a 18-year-old. He obviously will be depth for the back line, but with a ready-made stature like that, all he needs to do is prove to the coaches that he can play at the AFL level and he'll be in. So hopefully he does so and impresses in the preseason. And then we have St Kilda, obviously an open spot with Max King in the forward line. He could be the one to fill that void, although he's very raw, very young as well, so it's unlikely that will happen, but you never know. And no doubt late in the season there will be chances for him to get in the first team, but as I said earlier, he's raw. He might just take this year to develop, but he can still show some very promising signs in the VFL. We know that he's tall, mobile, good on the lead. If he can just improve his overhead marking, then he probably would have gone a lot higher in the draft. And then we have Mateus Philippou, our first pick from the draft. He was a slider due to the talent at the top end, and most people rate him as the player with the most upside in that draft. He has huge X factor. He only just turned 18 a couple days ago actually, so he's got a few months ahead of his fellow draftees, and so he's got a lot more room for development. And some people think, including me, that he could be in for round one because he's such a hard worker, and that will come to fruition if he continues to work in round one. And then we have Angus McLennan. He was a product of our Next Generation Academy last year, but because of injury he wasn't drafted, but he's worked hard and got back this year, played a few VFL games, and obviously he's good enough for the AFL, so hopefully he can work hard to try and find a place in the team. He can play defense and he can play forward. I think he'll play a bit more forward for us in these early stages of his career, but no doubt he will move across the ground when it's time. So these kids, they have a lot to prove, and 2023 is a very good opportunity in their debut season to prove that they are ready for this level. So those are my thoughts on the players to watch in 2023 at St Kilda. Obviously I've split them into 4 categories, and we have a lot of players returning from injury, a few players changing roles, a lot of new draftees, and just a lot of excitement going through the squad with the talent we have now. So if you enjoyed the video, please drop a like. It would be greatly appreciated. Comment your thoughts about who you're excited to watch in 2023, and make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. I've got a lot of content coming to you guys in this preseason, and make sure to follow the Instagram to keep up to date with everything going on at St Kilda _insider. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.